champions of the past, we have world champions of the present. Marissa Shields in the building.
Jake Paul found himself face-to-face with a storm he couldn't talk his way out of. Andrew Tate, live and unfiltered, on a New York City street on December 14th. The clash wasn't scheduled, but the tension had been simmering for months, and when their paths crossed, it exploded. Jake threw out his usual provocations, but this time, the backlash was instant and very real. Tate didn't just respond, he detonated.
It's clear to me you are desperate for a reality check. This is the hardest sport in the world, and people dedicate their lives to this, and most of them never get a payday. It never pays off for the majority of fighters who would
Jake Paul has made a name for himself by constantly pushing buttons, calling out aging legends, controlling narratives, and protecting his unblemished record with hand-picked opponents. But what happened that day wasn't part of any marketing plan. This was Andrew Tate, a four-time kickboxing world champion with a $700 million empire, confronting Jake not in a ring, but right in the middle of a packed street. And he made it clear, he was there for more than just a scene.
That was Andrew Tate, in all his $710 million.
Tate doesn't operate in half measures. This wasn't an internet beef or a clout-chasing post. He squared up to Jake Paul in the middle of a crowded sidewalk, cameras rolling, fans watching, and made it personal. This wasn't just confrontation, it was domination. Jake, usually armed with comebacks and swagger, looked stunned. It was the first time the spotlight seemed too bright for him.
If you want to fight and you want to send a contract, send one to me. I will take a few weeks break from living my retired life to kick the living out of a fucking goofy, fucking entitled dickhead like you. You know my name, Andrew Tate. Fucking Google it if you want to know more. Any day, anytime.
Jake Paul lives and breathes confidence, it's the engine that drives his brand. From his brash challenges to his loud lifestyle, that bold persona is what fills arenas and headlines. But this time, that confidence evaporated. Tate wasn't a gimmick or a calculated opponent Jake's team could mold. He was the real deal, a combat veteran whose presence demanded respect. And Jake, for once, had no answer.
Come on, work. Go. Work. Come on, Marshall. Keep going. Work! Come on, fight. Back it. Hey. 50 seconds. Come on, 20 seconds to walk, Steve. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, work. 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 Good. Work. 10 seconds. Work.
Everything about Jake screamed discomfort. Tate didn't need to flex or shout, his silence said it all. As he stood tall and unbothered, Jake squirmed under the weight of a confrontation he couldn't control. The man known for loud comebacks and fearless jabs looked muted, out of sync, and undeniably shaken.
Yeah, he'll never do that though. He knows. He knows way.
One, he's under contract. And two,
he's not his own boss.
And two, he won't do it. He knows better. He might
and it's funny to say, like, yo, Conor McGregor is scared of Jake Paul and will never buy.
This wasn't spontaneous. Tate had watched Jake manipulate headlines for years, challenging legends past their prime and ducking genuine threats. When Jake publicly called him a washed-up has-been, Tate's patience snapped. He wasn't going to respond with tweets or interviews. He was going to make his statement loud and direct, right in Jake's face.
I'm one of the lucky ones. I made a little bit of money. I don't have 50 million to bet with you, but I do have 3 million to bet with you. So this is your offer. $3 million. You put 3, I put 3. Winner takes all. I'm 5 years out the ring. I'm a kickboxer.
Let's be honest, Andrew Tate doesn't need more followers, more fame, or more attention. His reason for confronting Jake had nothing to do with publicity. It was about respect. In a world where clout chasers wear gloves, Tate wanted to remind everyone what a real fighter looks like. No camera tricks. No script. Just presence and principle.
When you see some of these crossover fights, obviously I know that you and Jake Paul have had your disagreements. Do you think that Jake's gotten better as a boxer?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And listen, what Jake Paul has accomplished is he's fighting old guys.
Yes.
He's fighting, all he fights are old guys and whatever. But listen, say what you want, he wins. And he makes money. So he's doing his thing, you know.
December 14th will be remembered not for a fight, but for a moment that rocked the internet. Fans on the street whipped out their phones, forming a circle around the two. Within minutes, clips were everywhere: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, lighting up the hashtags, hashtag Tate vs. Paul, hashtag Jake Paul exposed, hashtag RealFighterEnergy. Jake Paul's brand is built on the idea of being untouchable, the loudmouth underdog who beats the odds and shames the critics. His over-the-top confidence, brash trash talk, and flashy lifestyle have always been central to his mystique. But Tate shattered that illusion. The moment they faced off, Jake's armor cracked. No smirk, no witty jab, just a man realizing the show had finally met reality. Tate didn't need to intimidate with words. His years in the ring and his calm intensity were more than enough. For once, Jake stood across from someone who wasn't a caricature, but the embodiment of everything real about the fight game.
Two brothers, one cage. Jake Logan, you Tristan. Who comes out alive?
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet beefs. I'm really trying not to.
You could say Jake and Logan, man.
Bro,
Don't worry about it.
No, I can't lie. Bro, I'm going through life. I'm trying to live peaceful now. I've got Fed agents in my house. Matrix is after me. I'm just trying to live peaceful. But of course, I have absolute faith in myself and my brother, and I know what we've been through, and I know the kind of men we are.
Tate didn't have to lift a finger. His presence did the damage. With a decorated combat career and an unshakable demeanor, he stood like a wall, while Jake tried and failed to muster his usual verbal fire. And once the video hit the web, it was a digital knockout. Memes flooded the internet, fans mocked Jake's silenced bravado, and Tate's cool control won admiration from even his skeptics. In a world of noise, Tate brought silence, and it spoke louder than anything Jake Paul had ever said.
I'm sorry. Look, Andrew, fighter, legitimate, badass motherfucker, strong mentality. Sorry, Tristan Tate is a weak link.
I say let's
he got a bad shoulder. He's shaped like a gingerbread man. I don't want no beef, but that's delusion.
PFO will set this up.
A MMA double tag team match.
10 million for everybody.
You might have a fight, you might have a fight on your hands.
That would go crazy.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. No, seriously.
I'm
let's
about
do
the
it.
action. Like I'm less talk now. Let's just fucking go.
Yo, but you know for a fact, me and Jake will travel to Romania. We will make this happen. We'll do it wherever you want, whatever conditions you want.
The debate surrounding Andrew Tate's bold confrontation with Jake Paul continues to divide the world of combat sports. Was it a justified stand for tradition and respect, or just another viral stunt fueled by ego? For many purists and longtime fans, Tate's move was a necessary reality check, a symbolic strike against the growing influence of hype over hard-earned grit. They saw it as a stand against the dilution of the sport, an effort to hold the new generation accountable. In their view, Tate wasn't just confronting Jake, he was defending the soul of the sport. But not everyone agreed. Critics were quick to call it performative, a carefully orchestrated move meant to dominate headlines and manipulate algorithms. They saw two master marketers colliding, both chasing virality under the guise of authenticity. Regardless of interpretation, the impact was undeniable. What began as a street encounter had sparked a firestorm, exposing a deep rift in the culture of modern combat sports. The incident became more than a rivalry, it became a mirror reflecting the sport's evolution, its conflicts, and the uncertain line between honor and entertainment.
To an old man who's retired. I live in the real fucking world, Jake. There's a whole bunch of fighters out here who live in the real fucking world. Men who are dangerous and dedicated their lives to this sport and don't have a fucking fraction of the money you have because you managed to become a fucking clown.
This wasn't just a street clash, it was an ideological collision between two competing visions of combat sports. Jake Paul represents the modern influencer-athlete hybrid, someone who's bypassed the grueling tradition of gym wars, amateur tournaments, and rank climbing by leveraging fame and strategic matchmaking. His journey has been unconventional, but undeniably effective, filling arenas, selling pay-per-views, and keeping his name trending. For Jake, fighting is a platform, not a passion. Every jab is a marketing tool, every bout, a media campaign. Contrast that with Andrew Tate, a fighter forged in blood and repetition, whose respect was earned in empty gyms and brutal spars. For Tate, combat is sacred. It's not a performance, it's a proving ground, where character is tested and legacies are forged. The confrontation wasn't just personal. It represented the widening gap between those who see fighting as a sacred discipline and those who see it as the next frontier for content creation. Their clash is less about a punch thrown and more about a battle for the direction this sport is heading.
Fight! Hey, fight! Hey, go, fight! Hey, work! Hey, work! Hey, work! Hey, work! Hey, work! Work! Hey, work! Hey, work! Hey, keep going. Come on, work. Go, work. Come on, Marcy, keep going. Work! Come on, fight! Make it. Come on, 20 seconds to walk, let's go, let's go, let's go!
For Andrew Tate, calling out Jake Paul wasn't about headlines, it was about holding a mirror up to a sport he sees slipping away. Jake, in Tate's eyes, is the poster boy for a new wave of athletes who've leapfrogged hard-earned respect by going viral instead of going through war. These influencers come with millions of followers but few rounds in the ring. They've turned boxing into entertainment, but at what cost? Tate wasn't just defending himself, he was defending the code of honor passed down by generations of fighters. For him, the confrontation was a protest, a fight against the erasure of authenticity in favor of hype. It was a reminder that followers don't land punches, and respect can't be bought. In confronting Jake, Tate sent a message to every young fighter grinding in obscurity: this sport still belongs to those who bleed for it.
You know what? If I made my money impressing 4-year-olds on YouTube and managed to somehow become a multimillionaire from it, I'd probably live in a dream world too. But let me explain something to you about combat sports. There are a whole bunch of men out here who will never be as famous as you, will never make the money you've made, who would kick the living fuck out.
In the aftermath, social media turned into a battlefield. The footage went viral within minutes: YouTube thumbnails, TikTok edits, Instagram reels, all dissecting every angle of Tate's confrontation with Jake. The internet exploded with speculation. Would Jake finally accept a fight against a real threat? Or would he retreat behind the familiar safety of spectacle over substance? Everyone had an opinion, from seasoned analysts to casual fans. Sports talk shows ran with bold headlines like "Tate exposes Jake," and every podcast had a hot take. What was originally a street altercation became a full-blown cultural event. The story transcended boxing, it became a flashpoint in the larger conversation about what modern combat sports has become. Legacy versus virality. Real versus staged. Discipline versus digital dominance. And with each passing hour, the pressure on Jake Paul grew louder and heavier.
The best boxer on the planet is Jake Paul. Why? I mean, who's doing it? I mean, if Mike Tyson says, let's do this, are you down? 100%.
I'm gonna make Mike my girlfriend.
Would you fight Mike Tyson? Again, no, because he's now old, and I would be an absolutely tragic shame to knock out an old version of his prime self. That doesn't feel fair. Prime Tyson would have ripped me apart in a boxing match. So to beat him when he's past his prime just feels dishonorable, and I'd feel dirty for doing that. So there's no amount of money on the planet that could convince me.
The fallout was swift and brutal for Jake Paul. The confrontation shattered the illusion of untouchability he had carefully constructed. The man who once seemed bulletproof in the court of public opinion now looked vulnerable, even exposed. Online critics, many of whom had long accused Jake of hiding behind spectacle, now had their smoking gun. His aura of invincibility cracked under the weight of a silent stare down. Meanwhile, for Tate, it was a resounding win, not just for pride, but for everything he represents. He didn't just talk about real fighting, he lived it, demonstrated it, and let his actions resonate. It wasn't about selling a fight. It was about protecting a tradition. In that moment, Tate wasn't just a fighter, he became a symbol for those fed up with boxing's shift into viral theater. He won respect by demanding it, not through likes or clicks, but through principle.
I'm known as a fighter in a way that he never will be. I'm known as a fighter in the way that if you throw me in a cell with a murderer, a rapist, and 2 drug dealers, people look at me and go, okay, respect. He would have left with a higher male body count than his fiancée. That's how he would have left.
The question on everyone's mind now is, what happens next? Fans are calling for a real match, a sanctioned bout that finally puts all speculation to rest. Would Jake actually step into the ring against a fighter like Tate, who brings decades of real experience and brutal technique to the table? Or would he continue playing the game of safe fights and spectacle? Supporters of Tate argue that Jake is outmatched, both technically and mentally. But Jake still has his defenders, who believe his youth, drive, and constant improvement shouldn't be dismissed. They point to his ability to perform under pressure, adapt to big moments, and keep rising. If this showdown becomes a reality, it won't just be about two men punching it out, it will be a defining event, one that might determine what kind of future combat sports is headed toward, pure competition or viral entertainment.
Jake Paul can fight. It's not like Jake Paul can't fight.
Yeah.
Jake Paul just won't fight.
Like me, he's mentioned me before, and there'll be people out there saying, oh, Carl Froch's talking about himself, he's after a payday. Listen, I'm not after a payday. I'm doing all right. There's no problems with my fight.
One thing is certain, this isn't over. What started on a street corner has evolved into something bigger, a rivalry rooted not just in ego, but in fundamentally different worldviews. Whether this ends in a ring or continues through tweets and headlines, it's clear both men are determined to prove something. Jake needs redemption, a chance to silence the doubters and reclaim his swagger. Tate, meanwhile, wants validation not from fans, but from a sport that he feels is losing its way. The world is watching. Everyone wants to know, will Jake finally accept the challenge, show growth, and take the real risk? Or will the dance continue, all noise and no substance? That answer could define both of their careers.
Two brothers, one cage. Jake Logan, you Tristan. Who comes out alive?
You know what? I'm trying so hard to not start internet.
This wasn't just a call-out, it was a turning point. For Jake, the encounter felt like a mirror moment. Everything he built, his image, his bravado, his reputation, took a hit that no PR strategy could spin away. Tate delivered a cold truth that even Jake's loudest trash talk couldn't deflect. Respect isn't earned in front of a camera, it's earned in the ring. It exposed the space between Jake's commercial success and his credibility as a true fighter. And while his rise has been impressive, this was a moment that forced him and his fans to confront the question, is he really built for this? For Jake, this could be the wake-up call that pushes him to prove he's more than a brand. For Tate, it was a confirmation of what he's always stood for.
4-year-olds on YouTube and managed to somehow become a multimillionaire from it, I'd probably live in a dream world too. But let me explain something to you about combat sports. There are a whole bunch of men out here who will never be as famous as you, will never make the money you've made, who would kick the living fuck out.
For the audience, this moment wasn't just another viral clip, it was symbolic of the shifting tides in combat sports. It drew a clear line between two cultures, the traditional grind of blood, sweat, and sacrifice, and the flashy digital rise of influencer fame. It made fans reflect on what they truly want from the sport: authenticity or entertainment, legacy or likes. Some found excitement in the chaos, others frustration in the spectacle. But no one looked away. And maybe that's the real impact. This confrontation forced the fight world to examine itself, to reckon with where it's been and where it's going. And in the middle of it all stands Jake Paul, facing a choice that could either solidify his legitimacy or unravel his illusion.